This is Jessie Woodbury, Assignment 3, Structure and Function of the Cardiovascular System, Blood Vessels. There are 5 different types of blood vessels: arteries, arterioles, veins, venules and capillaries. The arteries. There is blood in the arteries that is pumped at high blood pressure by the heart. They have thick outer walls and thick layers of muscle which stand pressure, and elastic fibres can stretch within them. The lumen in the arteries, which is the hole for the blood flow, is small as it is wide. The walls would be thinner, meaning there is a chance of them bursting at a high blood pressure. The middle layer is made of smooth muscle so it can vasoconstrict and helps control body temperature. The artery's job is to take blood away from the heart. There are lots of layers to the artery. There is the tunica external, and this has an elastic wall. Veins. Veins pump blood at a much lower pressure than the arteries, so the walls of the veins don't have to be as strong or thick. There is less muscular fibres as they don't vasoconstrict as much as veins. They have a wide lumen, as it means more blood can return to the heart quicker and be oxygenated. In the veins, they have valves to prevent backflow from occurring within the veins. Venules are vessels that are formed from the capillaries. These drain blood from the capillaries to the veins. They also have thin layer walls. They have thinner layer walls than the arteries, but they do not have valves. Arterioles. The arterioles branch off into smaller arteries where near the tissue. They have smooth muscle to control blood flow with vasoconstriction and vasodilation. This also helps us to control our body temperature. Capillaries are the thinnest blood vessels. They have a single layer of endothelial cells, and it brings blood closer to the cells. Oxygen, carbon dioxide, water and salts are all found in the blood. They also have large amounts of muscle for exchanges of gases. Capillaries allow oxygen and glucose to diffuse in the cells, and carbon dioxide and waste to move out of the cells into the blood. The blood. The structure of the blood is made up of four things: red blood cells, white blood cells, plasma and platelets. The function of the blood is to control body temperature, prevent infection and disease, and to transport oxygen, carbon dioxide, proteins, fats, vitamins, hormones, enzyme, platelets, and electrolytes around the body. The red blood cells. Red blood cells are different to other cells as they have no nucleus. They have no nucleus. This means that there is more room for hemoglobin. The hemoglobin is a red pigment, which is why it's called the red blood cell. They are smaller and more flexible than most cells, so they can fit through capillaries, which is the smallest blood vessel. You can also tell them apart as they are of a biconcave shape. Its main job is to absorb and transport oxygen to the working muscles. White blood cells are larger than the red blood cells. The reason they are larger is due to the fact that they have a nucleus, unlike the red blood cell. The white blood cells can change shape to digest bacteria or creating antibodies to digest bacteria and prevent infection and disease. Platelets are small fragments of cells that contain factor VIII. Platelets have factor VIII to help blood clotting and fight infection. It works when the wound is exposed and the air, and the factor VIII is sticky and heals over the wound to prevent blood loss and stop bacteria getting into the body, which is otherwise known as scabs. Plasma. Plasma is the liquid in the blood, and blood is 55% of it. However, although blood may appear red in colour, the 55% of plasma is yellow. Its main job is to transport enzymes, carbon dioxide, electrolytes and fats. The respiratory system. The function of the respiratory system is to get air into and out of the lungs so that gaseous exchange can occur in the alveoli. Gaseous exchange is the process of oxygen moving from the alveolus into the blood and carbon dioxide moving in the other direction. The journey of air. Functions of the respiratory system is to get air into our lungs and out of the lungs so that gaseous exchange can occur in the alveoli. Gaseous exchange is the process of oxygen moving from the alveolus into the blood and carbon dioxide moving in the other direction. The definition of diffusion is the movement of particles from a high concentrated area to a low concentration area. The trillions of alveoli create a large surface area. The alveoli walls are 1 cell thick. The alveoli are converted into thick capillary networks. The alveoli have a moist lining. The more surface area, the more diffusion that can take place in a short distance for the oxygen to diffuse. The more capillaries there are, the more diffusion can happen. The gases can dissolve in the moist lining for faster diffusion. The respiratory muscles are the diaphragm, intercostal muscles, external and internal intercostal muscles from antagonistic pairs. Inspiration. The diaphragm muscles contract, which causes the diaphragm to move up and down. The external intercostal muscles contract and the antagonist internal intercostal muscles relax. The volume inside the thoracic cavity increases and the pressure inside the thoracic cavity decreases. The air rushes in to equal out the pressure. Expiration. The diaphragm muscles relax, which causes the diaphragm to move up. The external intercostal muscles relax and the antagonistic internal intercostal muscles contract. The volume inside the thoracic cavity decreases and the pressure inside the thoracic cavity increases. The air rushes out to equal the pressure. The structure of the lungs. The lungs are divided into lobes. The right lung has 3 lobes and the left lung has 2 lobes, which makes room for the heart. This space is where the heart sits. It's called the cardiac notch. If a lobe gets infected, it allows the rest of the lung to diffuse. Visceral pleura is the innermost of the 2 pleural membranes. It covers the surface of the lung. The pleural cavity is the space in between the pleural membranes. Pleural fluid fills the space between the visceral and parietal pleural. This lubricates and allows the lungs to glide over one another easily. Chemical control of breathing. When you inhale carbon dioxide, levels increase and the blood levels of carbon dioxide increase. The chemoreceptors in the arteries detect this and send a message to the brain. The brain then tells the respiratory system centre to breathe faster so more carbon dioxide can go through the blood to the lungs where gaseous exchange can take place. The respiratory centre sends nerve impulses to the diaphragm and intercostal muscles to speed up our breathing. Neural control of breathing rate. The joint receptors signal the medulla oblongata where doing high levels of activity. The medulla oblongata tells the muscles involved in breathing to contract faster and stronger. This helps the lungs with gaseous exchange to get rid of the carbon dioxide. Tidal volume is the amount of air which enters the lungs during normal inhalation at rest. The average tidal volume is 500 millilitres, the same amount which leaves the lungs in exhaling. Residual volume is the amount of air left in the lungs following a maximal exhalation. There is always air remaining to prevent the lungs from collapsing. Total lung capacity is the vital capacity plus residual volume, and this is the total amount of air in the lungs can hold. The average total lung capacity is 6,000 millilitres, although this varies with age, height, sex and health.